world was young, the mountains green, no stain yet on the moon was seen.
Then with a crash came a great ringing shout. Ra, boom, ra.
3 rings for the elven kings under the sky, 7 for the dwarf lords in their halls of stone, 9 for mortal men doomed to die, 1 for the dark lord on his dark throne in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie. 1 ring to rule them all, 1 ring to find them, 1 ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them in the land of Mordor where the shadows lie.
All right, talking about Tolkien, Ben.
It's talking about Tolkien, Nate.
We had a week between. I don't think anyone else is even going to realize that, but we took a week off from talking about Tolkien to do like life and shit, and now here we are talking about chapter. I want to say 4. I'm hoping it's 4.
It's chapter 4.
All right,
shortcut to mushrooms.
Shortcut to mushrooms, or what conservatives call college, or what conservatives call liberalism, I
don't know if this is one of your more
what conservatives call weed. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
There's something there, but it's not quite working. I wouldn't put it in your type 5 yet.
My type 5. In case I ever go to California and do that stand-up, you know?
You don't have to go to California. I hear there's a thriving Austin community at Joe Rogan's comedy spaceship, mothership. I don't know what he calls it, but they take your picture and they don't let you have a phone.
The bats?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, you could do that. But we're not here to talk about Joe Rogan or comedy. We're here to talk about Tolkien and Farmer Maggot.
Yeah.
Who is mostly left out of the movie.
Dirty in the movie. He is done real dirty in the movie. He's briefly there yelling at Merry and Pippin who steal his food. And it's like, in the book, coolest guy ever. The world is saved because Farmer Maggot was there to give them a place to stay and hide them.
So I gotta ask, because you early on, I can't remember if it was in talking about Tolkien or if it was in an episode of Words About Books. Early on, you realized that Fellowship of the Ring has all this extra material that's not in the movies, and you were like, "Oh God, I don't want to have to do all that boring Shire stuff." So I got to ask, have you changed your mind? Is the Shire a little more interesting?
I knew that he cut out a whole bunch because I remember watching the movie going like, "Oh, we're just at Bree now." Okay, all right. So far I'm liking this. So,
So is it surprising you? Did you think it would be? Did you think this would be boring?
I don't know if I would say boring. I would say uneventful was my fear.
This is not the most eventful chapter.
Yeah, this one probably not. But
it's
even
awesome.
So, Farmer Maggot, okay, he is not a snitch. All right.
So you want to give the summary and we'll talk a little.
So if you recall, they were just in Woodhall or outside of Woodhall with some elves and the hobbits. That's just Pippin, Sam, and Frodo. Merry is not there yet. So they awaken, and those elves, whose names we're not going to talk about because it'll make us go down another rabbit hole, they're gone now. And they left them some bread and what I assume is like magic elf ale or something. It's a honey-colored liquid that makes them laugh a lot. So, booze. And Pippin wants to eat all the bread and leave Frodo with none, like an asshole. And Sam is like, no, bro, what the fuck? So Pippin is like cheerfully wondering, like, I wonder if we'll see those Black Riders again. Like, he's got no survival instinct whatsoever. Just like, wouldn't that be pleasant to see those giant, towering, black-clad men on their black horses?
Buddy, that's going to be a recurring theme with Pippin. Pippin is dragged to the finish line of this epic saga.
Yeah, I remember the thing in Moria and the thing in Isengard.
Yeah.
And the thing in Minas Tirith. There's a lot of things that, man, he only scores higher than Boromir because he lived through the whole thing, and Boromir didn't.
I don't think Pippin ever knowingly betrayed any. Like, Pippin probably wouldn't have taken the ring because I don't think he really fully understood.
Yeah, I don't even
there
think he
was
knows
a
the
ring.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't think he really knows why he's there or what we're doing, but he's having a great time.
We are going to find out in the next chapter that Pippin, Merry, and Fatty, that poor hobbit, they all know that Frodo
what's his actual name? Fredegar, I think.
I will take your word for that. I don't know. Did they ever even say his real name?
Fredegar.
I just remember Fatty Bolger.
I think it's
comes
Bolger.
off as like fat booger or something. Like, Jesus God.
Yeah. We can't talk about it. I'm not going down another tangent.
That'll be next episode. Look forward to that.
That'll be next episode. Yeah.
So yeah, when asked if Pippin would be more alarmed if he found a man in the woods or a bear in the woods, he replied that he'd be cool with either.
Man riding
Pippin
a bear.
Was found dead. Exactly.
That's what I want. Yeah.
Pippin was found dead some years later by what appeared to be a man riding a bear.
But yeah, Pippin's wondering. Partly though, I wonder if he's just trying to get Frodo to talk, because we will find out he knows Frodo's on some secret mission. So he's like, "Oh, I wonder if we'll see those Black Riders again. You know anything about those Black Riders, Frodo? You think you want to see them again?"
And that's being generous. That's being generous to Pippin. And Frodo is like, I don't know if I can force my friends to leave the Shire. As Sam is staring longingly at him. I think is this an actual quote? I'll follow you to the moon and back, Mr. Frodo. Is that can't be.
It's pretty close.
Probably.
It's pretty close. I don't know if that's exactly what he says, but he does mention he'll go.
Like you a lot.
It's friends. Really unclear, like, because I didn't get the vibe from the beginning that like Sam was one of Frodo's better friends.
But they are.
I mean, Sam's his employee.
His gardener.
Yeah.
But also his best friend.
I feel like Merry was Frodo's best friend.
Yeah. Friendship with Merry over. Sam is new best friend.
By the end of this, he'd better be.
Yeah, you really should be by the end of this.
This whole thing was like Sam's interview for best friend.
I think Sam was within his right to call foul if at the end of this Frodo's like, Merry, my best friend, I'm so glad that you're doing so well. Sam's like, what the fuck, man? Frodo has a really long way of... Sam has a new lease on life because he saw the elves. Frodo has a very long way of saying the shortest way between 2 points is a straight line. As a way of telling Pippin that, no, we're not going to go back on the path and hit this pub that has, like, the best brew in all of Hobbiton or whatever. We're going to go through some bogs and shit because you're an idiot, Pippin.
That is something Tolkien and his friends like to do. They like to wander around, go to pubs. They were, like, big beer drinkers.
British thing, I feel like.
They're big beer drinkers, yeah.
Whereas us Americans, we have the courtesy to just go to one bar and get so shit-faced we can't even walk. Okay?
I'm trying to remember which one of them it was. I think it was Tolkien. At Oxford, he had these beer and Beowulf study sessions.
Oh my God.
Where they were, like, the students had to read Beowulf, in the original Anglo-Saxon. And... As an extra thing,
can't we just watch the movie?
They didn't have a movie back then.
Oh my God!
Yeah, there was no Beowulf movie. You had to read it. The only way to read it was in the original Anglo-Saxon.
I've never read Beowulf.
Oh,
I avoided it.
I tell you what, that might be a supplementary episode of talking about Tolkien when we get to Rohan, because Rohan has a lot of Beowulf in it. So did The Hobbit, actually, interestingly enough. But yeah, Tolkien would have these sessions with college students, because this is another thing that would be kind of weird in America. Just getting drunk with your professor during a study night.
Yeah. Again, us American professors, okay, they have the courtesy to go get shit-faced in their own home where no one can see or hear them. We're not here to bond with our students, okay?
Well, I think the problem is in America, like the underclassmen would be not old enough to drink, most of them. I mean, of course they are drinking, but like the professor probably can't be there for most of that.
Give them a fake ID, you know?
The point is that in Britain you can start drinking when you're like 12. So
Yeah, as soon as you're old enough to reach the counter, you're old enough to get those booze, you know? But not guns. You're not allowed to have American-made guns.
yeah, in America it's the opposite. You can't
Yeah.
have beer, but you can have guns.
Yeah. As soon as you're old enough to pick one up. Actually, as soon as you're old enough to be an American citizen, which is at birth. Or some say it's at conception.
I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, and literally in 4th grade, every boy in my class was taking their gun safety course, because I think that was the youngest we could get our like junior hunters licenses or whatever.
Yeah. And that would allow you to hunt the most dangerous game. Man. Anyway, what are we even talking about? We're talking about Pippin being a dumb fuck. And he's like, if they catch us out in the field, it'll be the same as if they catch us out in the bar or out on the road. And it's like, no, horses have the advantage in flat, open terrain. A horse is going to have a hard time in that bog, Pippin. Just shut the fuck up. Get in the bog, Pippin. Quit your bitching and get in the bog.
So they do. They throw Pippin in the bog.
They throw him directly in the bog, and they're down there crossing a river, and then they see a black rider high atop a hill. But he can't come down and get him. See, Pippin? He couldn't just ride his horse over and get you. So
That's right.
Here's a question I had. How many riders are there in this area right now?
I think we are dealing with the same rider right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Are there multiple in the Shire at this time?
I don't know if there are multiple in the Shire, but there are multiple nearby. I forget how many. Oh, I forget what the other 3. So I think they do split up a bit. I forget how many are at Weathertop. I think there are 5 at Weathertop when they fight.
Oh, I thought there were 6, but maybe you're right.
But yeah, I don't know the answer off the top of my head for that one, because they do split up, but I can't remember who goes where. The trick with the riders is only.
Oh, there were 5.
I think the trick with the 9 is there's the Witch King and Camul the Easterling, and nobody else has a name or a title.
And then the other ones.
Yeah. And 7 other guys. So I don't take any special note of what the 7 other guys really were doing.
So there's there are 2 in this area, because a cry goes out on the wind, and then there's a distant answer. So it's just to illustrate that they're closing in on him.
Yep.
So then we finally get to Farmer Maggot's farm. And Frodo remembers that he used to get beat for trespassing here and trying to steal those delicious, delicious mushrooms. And Farmer Maggot even once threatened to feed Frodo to his dogs. But Pippin...
And then he had the dogs chase Frodo out.
Yeah. That's to teach you a lesson. Now, luckily, Pippin, despite being just no survival skills, dumb as rocks, he does have a high charisma score. He does know a lot of people. He knows Farmer Maggot. They're cool. And Farmer Maggot takes them in, feeds them dinner, we learn that the riders have been here already. So whoever the rider was, he talked in the Peter Jackson Ringwraith voice. He's like, Baggins, I'll give you gold if you tell me when he's here.
Tie that long hair on your head to the short hair on your ass and kick you down the street.
One of Farmer Maggot's dogs attempts to to frighten the rider, but he inhales some of that Ringwraith miasma, which is a thing.
Okay.
That's a thing. I think they call it the
Musk.
Oh god, is it
Ringwraith musk.
I think they call it like the black breath or something like that.
The black breath.
I can't remember. But yeah, the Ringwraith, like one of the dogs inhales the miasma, and the Ringwraith keeps talking to him, and Farmer Maggot's just like,
You take off that crown. I'm kicking your ass.
We asked them politely but firmly to leave.
Farmer Maggot, I basically picture as Hank Hill. Just the
I
gut.
can see that.
He's a tiny Hank Hill.
I could see that. So the rider leaves because he doesn't want to get his ass kicked. Because then he'll never be able to face the other 8 Ringwraiths if Farmer Maggot kicks his ass.
I am the Mac Daddy of Heimlich County.
He leaves because, like, you know, the whole quest could end here. If the other 9 come to see what happened to him, Farmer Maggot's just going to take them out too, and then there's going to be nobody for Sauron to help him find that ring. It's not going to surprise anyone that Farmer Maggot is like best friends with Tom Bombadil.
Is he really?
Yeah, because the other thing you're going to I think Tom Bombadil says like Farmer Maggot is like one of the wisest beings he's ever met. But Farmer, the other thing you need to know, so the Ringwraiths have this miasma, and I've talked about this before, and it'll come up again. The Ringwraiths have an aura of fear around them. And as the Ringwraiths, they get more powerful, as Sauron gets more powerful throughout the books, they'll actually, like, when they show up, like, whole armies quake with fear. So I really want you to, like, when we get to that point, reflect upon the fact that Farmer Maggot told this guy to fuck off and didn't take a step back when all the men of Rohan are like quaking, when all the defenders of Gondor are like, oh my god, we're doomed. Remember, Farmer Maggot was slapped that Witch King across the face.
Yeah. Farmer Maggot realizes they must be after Bilbo's lucky, I almost said charms, his treasure. They're after his treasure.
And Farmer Maggot, he's like, I remember you. You're that kid who used to steal my mushrooms. Did you learn your lesson? Frodo's like, yes, sir, I did. He's like, good. So that pig was just here looking for you and rode across my fields. Didn't care for that. So here's what we're going to do, Frodo. You're coming to my house. You're going to eat dinner. I'm going to treat you real nice because he wants me to turn you in. So I'm going to do the exact opposite of that. I am going to wait until dark. I'm going to throw you and your friends in a covered wagon, and I'm going to drive you to where you're going.
Dude is a fucking saint, and Peter Jackson did him dirty.
He is just, like, offended by the Ringwraith. He's just like, I don't even know if he's doing it. You say he's a saint. I don't even know if he's doing it for good so much as he's just like, oh, you want Frodo Baggins? Okay. Frodo, get in my fucking car. You will never have Frodo Baggins until you untrample my barley.
I did write that Sam distrusted Farmer Maggot initially because he used to beat his master. He is a master beater, if you would.
I don't know where Sam got this, like, golden retriever energy. He really
slept at his feet.
He really is, like, you were just his employee. Like, I don't even think they hung out. I mean, I'm here for it. Like, I'm going to grow to love it. But right now, Sam, you're coming on kind of strong.
He might become pretty strong, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's like, let him, let him work for it a little.
I meant to say, come on, pretty strong, and it came out really bad. You probably need to cut that.
No,
All right. I guess that's just in forever. All right.
I mean, everything else you've said to try to make it better has made it worse. Like, everything else you said could be an innuendo.
Innuendo. So they drive to the ferry, and they're listening for horse hooves. And right as they get there, they hear them. And this would have been perfect in the movie, because it's really tense. And they're like, oh my god, did one of the writers find them at the last minute? And it's Mary on a horse. Mary came to find out where the fuck they were because they hadn't shown up yet.
Yeah, so at this point in the movie, the farmer maggot scene, this chapter is where the movie really does like a hard cut of like,
Yeah, I think
wanna
they're running to the ferry from a Black Rider, and they get on the boat. And he's like, oh no, some water.
They're running down the road, and they run in the movie, they run into Merry and Pippin. Pippin's not with them. Sam and Frodo run into Merry and Pippin stealing from Farmer Maggot, and you see Farmer Maggot come in, and then there's a Black Rider or whatever. And then Mary's like, Buckleberry Ferry, and they have to go, and then Frodo gets on the ferry. And again, you don't really think about it in the movie because it's a good movie and it's well shot, unlike, other movies Peter Jackson has made. But in the movie, it doesn't really make sense that like Frodo gets on the ferry, he's in 2 feet of water, and the Ringwraith's just like, shit.
Yeah. Sauron would be really pissed off. You had the ring was right there, and you didn't want to get your feet wet.
Yeah, you didn't want to get your horse's feet wet.
Yeah, you're demoted, sir.
I think I watched somebody react to Lord of the Rings, and they're like, oh, can they not go over water? And I was like, oh, that would make sense if they don't drown in a river later.
Chinese vampires. Yeah, you're right. They then get in the river and then yeah.
But yeah, that's just another subtle example of when you cut stuff. Like Tolkien really thought about how all this would flow together, and he really was almost too obsessive about plugging every plot hole. And
Sam would.
I will cut that.
Yeah. The writer shows up in the next chapter on the opposite end. Like they cross in the ferry, and they're like, thank God there's no boats over there. He's going to have to ride all the way around to the nearest crossing, which is some bridge. So we're safe for now. And then if we just keep riding back and forth, he'll never get us.
We'll just set up some sort of town in the lake. An impregnable fortress that no one's ever thought of.
We'll make it all out of wood. Everyone knows that wood is inflammable. That means it can't be burned.
As long as the enemy doesn't have any kind of flying beast, I think we'll live forever.
So that's the chapter, Ben.
Yeah. Not a lot to talk about in this one, and it would have been one of our shorter episodes
if some asshole didn't ask me about the guy's name, and then we got into the topic of elves.
Anytime you talk about elves, you're gone for like an hour. Any questions? I don't really know what there could be questions about because Farmer Maggot is. I wish I could know. I don't. I'll have to search the letters. I don't know why he's called Maggot.
That's his surname. You jerk.
It's not a flattering. Oh, but we did forget one thing because Mrs. Maggot, which is an ugly name, packed them a to-go bag, and Frodo opens it, and it's those mushrooms he wanted so much. It's a little private joke between Mrs. Maggot and Frodo where Mrs. Maggot's like, stay the fuck out of the mushrooms. But also he has like 7 children.
There's a time and a place, and it's called college.
And why did Frodo have to steal mushrooms? You're rich.
He wasn't rich at the time. I think
he was.
I think this was pre being adopted by Bilbo.
Pre being a Baggins, but he's still a Brandybuck.
Yeah. And Brandybucks are not as rich as Baggins is.
No, but they've got mushroom money.
Yeah, but you are clearly underestimating just how fucking expensive these mushrooms are, because they are the most luxury of luxury goods, sir.
Farmer Maggot's just growing. He unlocked the key to growing like truffles in a sustainable pattern. He doesn't have to search the woods for them. He just knows where they are.
Yeah, he has a mushroom field.
That's not how you grow mushrooms, but
Well,
okay.
these are special mushrooms, so clearly you don't know.
They grow in a field.
They grow in a field. They're like any other vegetable or fruit, Ben.
Okay. This is like that time you didn't know how anyone would make toast without a toaster. This is Nate. You know, Tolkien has this I think the Shire stuff is really meant to show you like what an agrarian paradise the hobbits live in.
And Farmer Maggot has found a way to revolutionize mushroom growing.
And you just have no frame of reference for what it would be like to live anywhere near the land.
I lived near the land once, and it was not great, and I wouldn't recommend it. Go to college.
Well, I will say, I think it is great to live in the country if you're a professor at Oxford and the whole thing is just like a vacation home to you.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. Where do I sign up?
Oxford, I guess. But
Oxford and probably what, like 70 years ago?
Yeah. So, anything else you want to cover? Anything else you want to get into?
No, I just see my notes that next time we're going to talk about their bath. So, look forward to that.
The road goes ever on and on, down from the door where it began. Now far ahead the road has gone, and I must follow it, if I can, pursuing it with eager feet until it joins some larger way, where many paths and errands meet. And whither then, I cannot say.
All right. Okay. So next time, I don't know what I'm going to edit this episode into. This is an hour of recording with like 20 minutes of material. So I imagine a solid chunk of the episode is going to happen after the beep, because I'm going to have to cut all that elf stuff because it had nothing to do with anything.
You'll be like, do you remember his name, Nate? And it will be beep, and then we'll just go to the rest of the episode, and then we'll circle back.
We'll give you a pop quiz, and if you fail, I will deduct points. What was the name of the elf who Frodo talked to? Don't look at your notes.
Gildor and Glorion?
I don't believe you didn't look.
Well, it was already pulled up, and his name was there. I couldn't not look.
You're lucky. You're lucky. You were cheating. It was not an open book quiz, but yes, Gildor and Glorion. Remember that. I don't think he ever comes back.
I will not remember that. You can't make me. He's off to run away valiantly, like that guy from Monty Python. Brave Sir Robin. That's him. That's this guy.
His name is Inglorion. It could have been Glorion, but it's Inglorion.
Well, the Inglorious Bastards, they didn't run away.
I guess that's true. Maybe he's going to try to take out Sauron through a series of hyper-violent misadventures.
He's going the wrong way for that. Battle's that way, buddy. Go back east.
The Earth's a circle. You know, if you go far enough west, you eventually.
Is it a circle in this?
Yeah, no, it is a circle now.
Okay. What if they sailed west from the whatever the hell they're called, Valhalla land?
So, oh boy, I've stumbled into a lore conundrum here. Let's do the summary first, and then if you remember,
are they going to run into
question.
America? Is that?
No, Valinor. Okay, so nobody has a good answer to this.
It's America.
Once upon a
There's your
time.
answer.
No, it's not America. God, no. So, and believe me, Tolkien would hate that even more than I do. No, so at one point, Numenor, this is the fall of Numenor. They did try to sail west and make war on the gods. And Eru himself actually intervenes in that one because the gods were like, well, I don't want to kill a bunch of humans. That's not really what we're here to do. And Eru intervenes and he separates Valinor like permanently from the world. But it's not clear it's like where it goes because the elves still can sail there. If you're an elf, if you have a special elf ship, you can find the straight path to Valinor, and it's even hinted that maybe some men occasionally stumble onto it. But is it like in another dimension? Is it like out in space? I've heard it compared to like the Bifrost from Norse mythology. I don't know. I don't know where Valinor physically is right now. So if you're not in an elf ship, for sure you just sail and you wind up back in the east.
Okay.
If you are in an elf ship, I don't know, some Bermuda Triangle stuff might happen.
So wait, it's the ship that's important?
I believe the ships are important.
So like, if I just snuck into an elf ship, I could
Possible.
end up in Valinor. Okay.
No, it's hinted that sometimes men can wind up there. You might be killed on sight.
If I put on some fake pointy ears, will I
I think they can tell.
You think so?
Yeah.
I guess I'd have to shave too, because elves don't have beards, do they?
Elves don't have beards. You'd have to grow your hair into that long I don't know, it's almost like a... Why did the elves all have long hair? That's interesting.
Is that a book thing, or is that a Peter Jackson
I don't know.
thing?
I think that might be a
never
Peter
imagined
Jackson
them
thing.
with long hair until I saw the movies.
I always did imagine them with long hair, and I don't know why. I guess it's that like elves have almost like a Confucian Chinese aesthetic, where it's like, you know how like the European Middle Ages, everybody's just gross and kind of dirty, but in like Japan and China, everything looks really clean, and everybody's wearing like silk, and they've got long, well-groomed hair. That's like the elves. I feel like the elves have that going on. Like they're just a little bit, it's still medieval, you know, they don't have electricity, but they're doing a little bit better in some ways, some very important ways.
They take baths, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, do elves ever get sick?
No, they don't.
So they're free from plague and pestilence.
Yes.
What the fuck, guys? You can't spare some of your elf magic to heal the sick?
I don't think they don't use elf magic. They don't get sick. The only doctors they have are for like acute injuries.
So what you're saying is we need to capture some elves and get some of that elf blood, and that will allow us to cure the disease.
Oh boy, this is not what I expected to get into in a shortcut to mushrooms.
That'll teach you to ask me about Gildor and Glorion, you jackass.
It really is like you turn over like one elf rock and you just wind up like all the way down. But no, actually, I don't think it's their blood that makes them immune. I don't think it's anything biological.
Their skin? Oh, okay.
I think it's their what
So
Tolkien
if
would
I
call
wear an
their
elf's face.
No, that would. I do not think that's the direction you would want to go in this world where like the Christian God is real. I don't think you want to start your cannibal Holocaust thing. No, it's I don't necessarily know if it's their blood because there is a Tolkien letter about this. I wasn't prepared to talk about it, so I don't know which letter it is off the top of my head. But in a letter, somebody asks him something about I forget what they ask him, but it turns to the topic of like, well, since elves and humans can produce children, I guess they're the same species, but they have very different spiritual fates. So Tolkien basically says like their bodies are basically compatible with ours, but it's their fate that is different, and so there's perhaps something magical about them that is not necessarily biological that prevents them from getting disease. That's just not how they go.
So what are half elves immune to disease? How many
That
half elves are
is,
there?
off the top of my head, I guess, what do you mean by half elf? Do you mean just half elf, or do you mean anyone with elven blood?
Both.
Okay, then there's a lot of people with elven blood.
Do
I mean,
they
not
get
like
sick?
a lot, but enough. Well, so the actual half elves, the ones that have one human parent and one elf parent, they existed in a kind of anomalous state for a while, and then eventually Manwë figures out, oh god, there's half elves. What do we do about that? So Manwë, he gives God a call, and I don't really know exactly what God said because only Manwë can talk to him, but Manwë comes back and he's like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. You gotta be one or the other. Okay?
Yeah, you told me this. I remember this from earlier.
Yeah, you gotta be one or the other. So you get a choice.
So Elrond, he's fate of the elves, but his brother was fate of man.
Elros chose the fate of men. So you get to choose.
Are there any other half elves, like full-blooded elf and full-blooded, or at least like close enough man?
Okay, so you made me dig through family trees to look up how many half elves there are.
Perfect. Lay it
All
on
right.
me.
Okay, so there's two lines of half elves that kind of combine. So there's Beren and Luthien, we've talked about a little bit before, and we'll talk about again because Aragorn talks about them. Beren and Luthien, they have a son named Dior, who is half elf. Or no, sorry, Dior would be half man.
Pronounced Dio.
Half man, 1/4 Maya, and 1/4 elf.
There's a guy who is half man, half minotaur.
There's Dior has 3 children who are 1/4 man,
Jesus Christ.
1/8 Maya, and then whatever's left is elf. And then so that's one line, right? And then
how do you get Maya in?
Okay,
in
so
this?
Luthien was half Maya.
How?
Thingol, her father, was an elf who
Okay.
fell in love with a Maya.
How?
She was dancing in the woods. That's how a lot of this starts, by the way. That's how a lot of Tolkien romances start. She was dancing in the wood. Thingol was creeping, and he chased her for a while, and then she was like, okay, let's do it. And
and he's like, oh my god, my performance anxiety. I don't know.
so Thingol was like one of those elves that was actually on the way to the gods and didn't quite make it.
Because
He's one
he
of the
found
ones-
a god, if you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
Because he found his goddess. Yeah, it's actually romantic. You should. We'll read it. So yeah.
So what happened to her?
After he died, I think she went like spirit form and then just never came back.
Okay. How do you even have kids when you're like? How
You
are
can
they
do
even
that.
compatible?
They could do that. She can, as a Maya, she can adopt any form she wants. So she adopted a form much like an elf.
Okay.
And
Well,
she made it real good. It worked. So, but she, like, in doing that, the penalty for doing that, or like not the penalty, but like the consequence of doing that is she is kind of forever tied to that body. So when she loses it, she kind of loses the shape shifting ability of the Maya.
Wow, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, that's true love, buddy.
Is that
then
how
there's
Sauron?
Yeah,
lost
that's
his
what happened to
shape-shifting?
Sauron. Well, not because he didn't have a kid that I know of, but
that we know of.
who knows what the Rings of Power are going to do with that? I don't know. I've never seen the Rings of Power. I'm waiting 10 years, and I'll start my reaction channel.
You're
I'm
really
very
set
serious
on
about
this.
that. If I remember, if I'm still alive, 10 years after the Rings of Power is done, I'll make a reaction channel.
Oh, it has to be done.
Okay, we'll say 10 years after it started. So 10 years from what, last year? I should still be around.
2022. We're already 2 years in.
Yes, in 2032, I'll watch Rings of Power.
Perfect.
Okay, so then there's a separate branch of there's another elf that gets with a human. That's Idril the elf and Tuor the man, and they have a child who you may have heard of if you paid attention to anything Galadriel said in the
Bilbo
movie.
Baggins.
Ariandel.
Why does that name sound familiar?
Because she gave Frodo a vial that contained the light of the brightest star, Ariandel. Ariandel does some stuff. It's pretty cool. He winds up becoming a star. I don't have time for that right now. I'm not getting.
Is that cool? Is that?
It is. The way he does it, it is. So, Ariandel, the half elf, marries Elwing, the quarter man.
Okay.
I mean, she is a quarter man. Okay, there's got to be a better way to say that. Human. She's a quarter human. And she's a little bit Maya, and she's a lot elf. And then, so she gets with Ariandel, and then that's where the gods are like, okay, guys, you got to pick one or the other. But before they make them
There's
pick,
too much interspecies mating.
Yeah.
We did not imagine that would happen.
Yeah. Melian, what the hell were you doing over there? So, Ariandel and Elwing had two children, Elrond and Elros. And then Elros had a bunch of kids. Now, Elros is a little more than half-elf at this point. And his descendants are, like, ever increasingly more human. But, like, you know, off the bat, they're pretty elfy, too. So, like, I don't know. I assume they picked men. Or, like, they must have, because then Elrond has a couple of kids, Arwen, Elladan, and Elrohir, and Arwen gets to pick as well, and then she marries Aragorn, the basically full man at this point, a little bit of a elf and a little bit of Maya in him, but then they have they have a couple kids, but only one of them's a boy, so that's the only name I know. That's Eldarion, and I don't know if Eldarion gets to pick.
Okay.
You want to talk about Farmer Maggot now?
Yeah, let's talk about Shortcut to Mushrooms. I don't know how you're going to cut any of that. So